Well, I'd always been interested in operating railroads. I've visited several and run on them, and it's just a lot of fun to switch cars and interact with the other people. It's much more a social hobby when you're in an operating session. If you're in your basement by yourself running trains, that's fun. It tends to be a little more fun when people come over to see your trains. And if you have 5 or 10 or 15 guys show up to run trains during an operating session, they're all talking to each other and interacting, and funny things happen that everybody laughs about. And there's much more social interaction, which I really like.
It's obvious that Bob enjoys the social aspect of the hobby. He also enjoys running his model railroad in a very realistic way, just like the prototype. But just what is realistic operation? Basically, it's making your model railroad do the same things that a real railroad does. The real railroads have customers to serve with various types of freight cars. They run local freights that stop along the line of road to pick up and set out cars as required by their customers. On the Pennsylvania and Western, the little town of Franklin has several small customers that are served by the Franklin Switcher. Let's watch as the Franklin crew takes care of business there today. I'll try to explain what they're doing as they go about their business. Today, the Franklin Turn has 280 number 8686 assigned to them. She's a good old console and has been in service a long time on the P&W. The train rolls into Franklin and heads into the passing siding at the south end of Franklin. They stop with the cabin car in the clear of the crossover from the main to the siding. Up at the engine, the head brakeman uncouples the engine from the train. He gets permission from the dispatcher to get out on the main and run around the train so they can work the train from the north end. After running around the train, the engineer brings the 8686 into an easy coupling with the cabin car, which is what the PRR called their cabooses. The rear brakeman makes a cut behind 2 refrigerator cars, also known as reefers. The first cars they need to handle here at Franklin are just ahead of those 2 reefers. The crew sets the cabin car and the reefers over to the main for a moment, just to get them out of the way. The head man uncouples the engine from the cabin car, and they back up to clear the switch. The crew then moves the locomotive back over to the siding to couple to the cars they need for their Franklin customers. The empty gone is for the Penn Metal Salvage Company, while these 2 boxcars go to the team track at the Franklin Freight House. Penn Metal Salvage has the gone they got yesterday fully loaded and ready to go. They'll be glad to get their hands on this empty. There are 2 empty boxes spotted at the freight house, so they'll have to be moved first, then we can shove the loads in and spot them. The crew reaches into the freight house track to grab the empties while still coupled to the 2 loads that will go into this same track. After setting the 2 empties over on the main, the crew shoves back over to the freight house track to spot the 2 loads. Note that they are still hanging on to that empty gone for the Penn Metal Salvage Company. After spotting the loads on the team track at the freight house, the crew couples back onto the empties they just pulled and shoves them down to couple to the cabin car. This is now the rear of the train that they'll run on the way back to the yard in Anvil. The rear brakeman makes a cut behind the cabin car and then line the switch for the siding and shove the rear of their train into the siding. That loaded gun came from Penn Metal Salvage. They now have an empty gun spotted to load for tomorrow. The remaining 2 cars sitting out on the main go on to Anvil, so the crew pulls them off the main, shoves them into the siding, and ties them back onto the train. There is no place to turn a locomotive in Franklin, so the crew has to run the 8686 tender first on their short run back to Anvil. This was commonplace on the real railroads, too. Now, this was a pretty easy day in Franklin. In a full-blown operating session, it can take the Franklin crew almost an hour to get their work done. Today, they're all set and ready to head back to Anvil. Franklin is the most complicated city on the railroad to switch, but during an operating session, switching like this goes on in almost every town on the railroad.